just because a hurdle's in your way doesn't mean you stop there. You have to go over it. And those are the type of people that I look for. I like to surround myself by people who overcome the obstacles. I feel like at Piaggio, honestly, we have a lot of people that do that. They go above the obstacle. They don't just stop because there's an obstacle in their way.
Welcome to the One Gang Worldwide podcast, your ultimate ride into the world of motorcycles. Visit cyclesworldwide.com, where we offer a completely free marketplace for everything motorcycles. Join our One Gang community where you can connect, share info, and swap stories with riders from all over the world. Join for free at cyclesworldwide.com and be a part of the One Gang community right now.
Today, we're sitting down with Michael Angeli, Vice President of Sales North America at Piaggio Group Americas, the company behind Aprilia, Moto Guzzi, Vespa, and Piaggio, obviously. Michael's been in the trenches of the dealer world from distribution to OEM territory leadership, and he's now helping lead Piaggio's growth strategy across North America. Dealer development, brand positioning, and the real work of winning market share one relationship at a time. This episode's about what's working, what's changing, and what dealers need next. We take you in an exclusive look into the Piaggio Group Americas. Mike, we know you're a busy guy, so thank you for joining us. We are very excited to have you, man. Thank you so much for joining.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Hell yeah, man. Where do you get an intro like that, huh, kid?
It was perfect. Honestly. You crushed it.
Hey, listen, man, appreciate you coming on, of course. I've been looking forward to this one. I just always been enthused with the motorcycles and the brands that you guys carry. But we started every show with the Break the Ice section where we do 10 rapid questions. Just give us no right or wrong answer. Just give us your rapid answers back. And we have some fun, get to know your quirky side a little bit. Tell me when you're ready and we start.
Let her rip.
All right, let's do it. Dealer visits or big strategy meetings?
Dealer visits.
If you could have dinner with one person, dead or alive, who are you breaking bread with?
Honestly, I know this is a wild one, but Houdini.
Houdini?
Cool.
Wow, that's a first on the show. Good job,
I know, because
man.
that guy is he lived a crazy life, and honestly, his whole story is awesome. My dad is a huge fan,
awesome.
So
Okay, cool. Strong margins or strong market share?
strong margins.
Your playlist is stuck on one artist or band. Who are you hoping it is?
Lately, I know this is crazy. I've been listening to on my workout situation, Fetty Wap. I know it's crazy, but that's what it's been on. So
What is that? What kind of music is
It's
that?
rap music,
It's rap? Okay, all right. That one I don't know.
but it's on my
Sorry, man.
Pandora, so it gives a whole
Got
selection.
it. The whole list.
That-
Yeah,
that
the
was it.
radio.
Very good.
Very cool. Hardest sell, premium price or premium value?
Premium price.
Demo days, are they essential or overrated?
Essential.
Agreed. First motorcycle you ever owned?
Suzuki GSXR 750, 2003.
Damn, kid. That's a big jump.
Bad mistake.
That was the first bike you ever owned?
horrible idea.
Yeah.
You think? How old were you?
19.
Oh,
My dad supported me 100%. We both realized the moment that bike pulled into the driveway that we made a mistake. We both looked at each other. We both looked at each other, and I said, Dad. And he went for a ride. I swear to God. He took it out, just went around the block, came back, and his face was pale white. And my dad's a motorcyclist. And he said, his bike is really fast. And I was like, I'm excited, but I was also like, maybe I made a mistake here. But we flew ahead.
That's a lot of power for a young man. No doubt about that. All right. Most underrated department in a dealership?
Service.
Agreed. One metric you watch weekly like a hawk?
Sellout. Dealership sellout.
Build me a dream garage. One car, a truck, and one motorcycle.
Dream car is easy for me. Lamborghini Aventador. A dream motorcycle, I would say RSGP. It's basically a
So
MotoGP.
Italian around the clock, right?
Yeah.
I do this. I got a side hustle. I do this armed security for this guy, and he's super wealthy, and he's a Lamborghini collector, and he goes to Italy and gets them built one of ones, and then they ship them back, and where I'm at, and I get to see his whole collection. Holy smokes, dude!
Listen,
I mean,
if I'm being honest with you, I was lucky enough to waste all of my money and buy a Lamborghini at one point. But I got to experience that premium, ultimate premium lifestyle, honestly, when you have a vehicle like that, from the dealership experience to the ownership experience. I think that gives me an interesting insight into how, when you sell premium products, what the expectation is of customers when they experience your products. So it gives me
what year was your car?
It was a 2020 Huracan Evo.
Damn, kid, good job, brother.
I told you, I like fast stuff.
I know, man. Listen, you passed the test, man. I think it might be one of the record times. So I guess now we kick it off into your journey.
Let's do it. There was a RSGP at Bike Week last week, and it's the first time I'd seen one in person. Yeah, they're just insane machines.
Oh, they're insane, man.
The new ones are absolutely wild. And we were only given 3 for last year, and they're arriving, I think, at MotoGP this year. And every year they launch a new one. We have another special one coming this year, which I'm excited to show at MotoGP. But the RSGP, to me, those GP, you could even say the Ducati Desmo was one of those bikes. Like, when you see it, you're just like, that's so close to MotoGP. And I've had a lot of very intimate access to MotoGP. So when you see something so close to that, on the edge of what bikes could do at that time, and bring the technology, and even that aero, the aero is insane what they're doing with the motorcycles right now.
Yeah, it really is.
How many are they bringing into the States?
I can't say now.
Oh, okay. Got it. Can I ask you a question, though? Does each dealer at least get one?
No. They're handmade by Aprilia Racing, and they're allocated with the help of Aprilia Racing. I'm not saying it's Ferrari-esque, but they look at who's buying them, how many bikes they bought before, not just collectors. Obviously, Aprilia, I would say, is more of a rider's bike. We want the people to ride them, take them to the track and enjoy them, not just collect them. And I understand there are collectors, but at the same token, when you look at our customer, 8 out of 10 customers take our bike to the track. So at least once. And it's a crazy statistic when you think about it. When I could go into some other manufacturers, and their number one thing that their customers do with their sport bike is take it to the gym. We live and breathe our bikes. And when you ride our bikes on the track, you know why they take them to the track, because it's easy to do it. So
that's like real riders, real racers.
One of the few bikes I've never ridden. So it's on my bucket list.
Yeah.
I'm coming to visit you, man. I have a spare room.
Will you be in MotoGP this year or no?
No.
Okay.
No plans on it. All right. So let's get to the actual show instead of talking about Aprilia, even though it's just as interesting. Let's talk about your youth. Where'd you grow up? What shaped your work ethic early on? What kind of kid were you? Talk us about young Mike.
I came from a large family. I have 6 other brothers and sisters. My dad had 4 girls and then 3 boys in a row. When we grew up in a small house, my parents were married for 52 years.
Wow.
We were a very close family. And my dad, because obviously when you have a lot of people, he ran the boys like the army. So if one messed up, we all got punished. So that was always his way of raising us. And then also, nothing was off limits. If you wanted it, my dad his answer always was, when you would ask for something, you can have it. You just have to go and get it. And what he meant by it was, even at 8, 9, he would tell the stories. Hey, when I was 12, I became a paper boy. And I know people on this call might not remember that we used to get newspapers delivered. So as soon as I was 12, 13 years old, I was like, I have to figure out a way to get myself a paper route, because I want a new mountain bike. I want an off-road product, because we came from a big family. So my parents did a great job providing for me, but we were a lower income family in a very small town in Pennsylvania. So,
and 20 kids,
19 kids, obviously no television for my parents, but if I wanted it, it wasn't off limits. And that was how I grew up. If you want it, go and get it. And so went and got a paper route that started off at 34 papers, and I grew it to 89 papers. So immediately after school every day, I was getting on my bicycle and going to deliver papers. And that was my first soiree, if you will, into business, is that, hey, if you push, and I would go and order extra newspapers, and you had to buy them. It was a little mini business, if you will. So I had to buy papers with my money to extra papers, and I would drop them off at customers' houses with a little index card that had all my information. Hey, if you're enjoying this delivery, call this number and get subscribed.
Great, man.
And then I was 14 years old with the coolest mountain bike in my class. And it was my mountain bike. It wasn't the mountain bike that my parents bought me. It was
You earned
mine.
it.
It was
That
mine.
wasn't daddy's money. Yeah.
Yeah. And my dad was cool about it. He would say, it's your bike. The rules didn't really apply because he couldn't say anything to me. He's like, hey, you bought it with your own money. You're good to go. It's the same thing when I got my first car. He was the same way. Hey, it's your car. You could do with it what you want. And it was an interesting way of growing. He challenged me a lot. That was the way he was. And I was a difficult child, if I'm being honest with you. So I asked him.
In what way difficult? Because
I was a classic middle child. I was a classic middle child. So I was always poking, pushing, messing with my brothers. So I always wanted to be doing something. So I would say I was a handful as a child. So
that's awesome.
It's a good way.
You said your dad rode. What was he riding at the time?
He was riding 1981 CB 750.
Cool.
Has the bike to this day, completely original.
He still has the bike to this day?
Yes.
Yeah,
that's like my childhood memories. Him rolling up when I was 6 years old. I think I was 6 maybe, on this motorcycle, and just seeing how good he felt and how cool that image was to me. Like, it ingrained in my brain, like, at some point I want to be a motorcyclist. And then he put all 3 of us, we have a picture, me and my 2 brothers and him, no helmets that I believe, on his bike to take us around the block. That would never happen today, but
and no seat belts and no helmets.
No, there was one on the front and 2 stuffed in the back in between the sissy bars. It was a crazy thing. The picture of it, that's
so awesome. Yeah. Let's get into a little bit about now into your journey after school, where you started. You broke into this industry with Takaraki. What did that job teach you about dealers?
It was interesting because that job was a very specific role. It was a helmet and apparel specialist. So a guy by the name of Sean McPhail actually gave me the job. Not gave me, I guess I earned it, but it was an interesting story that the day that I went to the New York Motorcycle Show for the interview, Sean's flight got delayed. Like, you're 20, 30 years old, 29 years old, trying to break into the industry. This was like my first real shot because that's all I wanted to do. I was doing other stuff before that, and it was just not my passion. I was always saying I want to do something in the motorcycle industry. It's just a hard industry to break into. And flight got delayed. So I went to the motorcycle show. He's from Canada, so we never connected. I was like, I can't believe this guy blew me off for this interview. I was dressed in a suit thinking like, I got to go look my best for this motorcycle job, not really understanding what it was. I had my presentation that was different. And so he didn't show up. He texts me at 9:00 at night. I'm sitting in my apartment just going, I'm not going to this job. I can't believe this guy would blow me off. Like, I was pissed, honestly. But I was like, you know what? He said, can you show up tomorrow at my hotel? And I was like, sure. And I just took a totally different mindset. I put myself in a different mindset that said, you know what?
He blew
me off.
Yeah.
And I'm going to take a different approach to this. I'm going to go in not with my PowerPoint presentation. I'm going to go in with jeans and a polo.
Yeah.
And I'm going to do a presentation about how I got into a motorcycle accident with my Arai helmet and how it saved my life. And I went with that strategy just because it was so simple and easy to me. It was something that I thought was relatable.
Yeah.
And that's what ended up getting me the jobs. That role really ended up being about presenting to dealerships. And I traveled around the Northeast, even around the country, presenting the house brands of Takaraki. And it was about telling stories about those brands and helping dealerships understand the brand and how to convey that and sell it to customers that were coming into the dealership. That was when parts and accessories were struggling in the beginning. Cycle gear didn't really get in yet.
Right.
So we really were focusing on trying to get brick and mortar stores. And I'm still a firm believer in brick and mortar stores and what they offer to dealerships. So it's something that still to this day, I find it was a great strategy. I don't know how we get back there necessarily because it's a different consumer experience.
Absolutely.
But
you ever seen the movie Office Space?
Yes.
Yeah. So it's like Peter, he just didn't care. So all of a sudden he doesn't care and they just wanted more and more and more. And,
he got hypnotized. So it was a little different. But hey, Mike, let me ask you this. What did distribution teach you that OEM people sometimes don't understand?
Distribution taught me that, honestly, dealerships are very busy. And the easiest thing that you can do is make it easy for dealerships. And often OEMs make it difficult for dealerships. I don't know why, but it just, let's create all these rules and these things. And it's partly because the OEM wants to protect themselves. But on the other side, it's quite complicated for dealerships to track everything and keep up with it. So the simpler you could make it, the more success I had, even on the distribution side. Even as I've progressed each year trying to simplify things, we've had more success the more simpler we go. So keep it simple, stupid seems to be the winning strategy, honestly, because they're very busy people.
Makes sense. Then, so you moved to Indian next. What was that transition like, going from distributor to OEM, and how did that come about?
Truthfully, I applied with Indian twice before, and twice I got far down the line. And so the first time I went, I got far down the line, and then flew out to Minnesota. For some odd reason, didn't make the cut, didn't really get much feedback. Second time, same situation, didn't make the cut. At that point, I was already doing well with Tucker. So it really, because here comes the third time they reached out to me, because the two previous people that they had hired didn't do well. So then they reach out to me and say, hey, come on in for the interview. And again, the office space. And even I remember one of the questions in the interview was, 2 times we didn't select you. What makes you think that the third time is the charm? I said, listen, in my opinion, you guys need me more than I need you. I'm already doing well. I have a good job. And you're two guys.
And Tucker was rocking back then too.
Tucker was rocking back then. And honestly,
that was one of the best, if not the best at that time.
Tucker, I got into a very bad motorcycle accident while I was at Tucker, and I almost died on my motorcycle. And Tucker was probably, it was one of those things where you realize you were in a family, because the reps that I worked with were awesome. The team that I had was awesome. Sean was awesome. And the company in and of itself was absolutely awesome with the way they supported me and took care of me while I was down. Because I was in a coma for a little bit. I was in the hospital for 5 weeks, 6 weeks. So Tucker was awesome. And then I saw what it means to be at a company. So it was hard felt to leave Tucker for Indian, a company that kind of shunned me twice. So, I mean, it was awesome to work for him at Indian, because they had an American approach, in my opinion, to doing business, to see some things that worked really well. And I got to see some things that didn't work really well. So some of the stuff that I saw at Polaris that was really good, I tried to take when I moved to Piaggio with me a little bit and try to implement little pieces, not take the whole thing. But
as the district sales manager, what did you learn fast about what dealers say versus what dealers actually need?
It was funny because I felt like at Polaris, there was a very adversarial relationship. I was the big bad boogeyman coming into the dealership. And I was like, wait a minute, guys, I'm here to help you. So it was always my approach, even from a young kid, to take this helping approach, from when I delivered newspapers to when I was at Tucker. Let me explain the brand to you to help you sell it. So I always had that approach to my strategy when I was walking into dealerships. So even when I was going into these Indian dealerships, having them be like, whoa, what are you going to try to force on us today? And I was I'm not trying to force on anything. Let me just give you some feedback.
Yeah.
And that was the approach that I took step by step. I didn't try and go in and change the world immediately, but I tried to go in and say, let's look at your business as a whole, what we can improve together. Can we agree that you're missing some parts and accessories? Can we agree that when I walk into this dealership, and I had some of the experience from Tucker, your jackets aren't all zipped up. The way that your dealership presented isn't necessarily the right way. You're missing some sizes within. So imagine if you come in and I'm looking for a large in this jacket. I fell in love with it. And then I finally find my size, and you got to wait. I have to wait now a week for my jacket to come into the dealership. Well, what do you think I'm most likely going to do? I'm probably going to go online and try and find it. So I took that approach to dealerships to trying to help them. And it started to feel like my little 40 dealerships ended up becoming my little family. That what it taught me was, when you can work with dealerships and try and help them, you could grow together. And that's what it taught me.
Amazing how much what you learned at Tucker helped you along the way, because Tucker was such a mass of everything. And you knew what had to be there, what was ordered the most, how it was all presented. That's killer, man. You climb.
Yeah. Tucker taught a lot regarding presentation skills, how to present professionally in front of a group of people. And it's something that you take for granted a little bit when you're just talking to a dealer. But if you take I always try and do a storytelling approach because it's something that people can follow and understand. You have more success when you're trying to help somebody. And that was always the way that I did it. And they taught me a lot. I used that at Indian and Slingshot, which was a crazy brand at the time, but and then now at Piaggio.
You can get a good look at a T-bone.
Let's get into Piaggio. Piaggio came calling in 17. What was the pull? What excited you about these brands and that challenge at that moment in time?
Honestly, it was if I'm being candid, it was more of a career move. I saw more of a career progression at Piaggio Group than I did at Indian. Indian had a lot of people that were stuck in their roles and not moving. And I felt always that I was moving at a faster pace than them and asking for more, give me more roles, give me more this, give me more that. I was hungry. And I felt like I was being throttled a little bit at Polaris, but at the same side, I was super excited about representing Aprilia motorcycles. I was really excited about that opportunity to have a brand. And the president and CEO of the time personally interviewed me, and he said, listen, after we talked, I see a different path progression for you. And I want to invest in you if you want to invest in us. And that was
awesome.
An eye-opening experience for me. And my decision was instantaneous. Absolutely. Because if you want to invest in me and mentor me, I'm going to take the time and invest and work with you. And even in the beginning, there were so many long hours of 5 a.m. getting on the road and not getting back until 8, 9 p.m. and talking to him on my way home. And he was in his office absolutely crushing it. And here I am on the road crushing it and giving him very specific feedback that he can use to help make his decisions.
So valuable.
And that is super valuable.
Yeah.
Man.
Hey, Mike, for the regional sales manager years, what were the biggest headwinds in the Northeast? Consumer demand, dealer profitability, brand awareness, all of it?
The biggest thing I would say, and probably the dealers, if you ask them, would probably say the same thing, would be making sure that the dealerships were adhering to the program and making sure that they were doing what they were supposed to be doing. And that also included marketing, not just on the wholesale side. And then if there was an issue or a problem, addressing it and finalizing it and completing it. Now, I work for an Italian company. Sometimes things take time. Just because they took time didn't mean that I was forgetting about them. I would deliver and complete what I said I was going to do. And I think that was the biggest headwind, was people were coming in, trying and giving up at the first hurdle, where I was saying, I am going to go and get this for you. Hey, there was this rebate on this bike that you were owed. Let me go see what the issue was, why you didn't get it, address it, try and figure out and make sure we could get it handled in the right time. Hey, I submitted this co-op claim, it didn't go through. Things like this that seem very basic, but even in a small company, there's steps that have to be handled. And that was the biggest hurdle, was being the buffer between the two and making sure that you delivered on what you said you were going to do.
Gotcha.
So then the ladder started moving up. You moved into the national sales manager position. What changed in your responsibilities, and was there added pressure at that point in time?
The biggest thing was they pulled the curtain. So it's the Wizard of Oz. Once they pulled the curtain, and Mario used to say this to me all the time, our president at the time, he said, once that curtain is pulled, you're going to see behind what goes on. And some people, it's going to be too much, because you're starting to see all of the purchasing, all of the standards that go into it, all of the things that we have to do as a company to make sure it's run, it's profitable and successful. So in the beginning, it was like you threw me in the water as we're trying to plan all of these vehicles. And then I realized that the number that I was committing to, both on the wholesale side of things when I'm planning, I was committing also to dealers selling that. So I was like, whoa, like I'm putting my stamp on it. And every month we come back and you said, Mike, you said you were going to do this. You only did this. So that approach was like, whoa, you're really accountable to what the company is doing as a whole. And
that's a lot.
People always talk about, oh, I can go and do that. But until you're responsible for all those people
100%
to make sure you do it, you don't understand how much that weighs on you. And just because somebody makes something look easy doesn't mean it's easy. It just means they're very good at their job. And it was a lot of weight that was on me throughout the time. It still is, because I don't want to overload my dealerships. I want to push them, Don't get me wrong. I want them to be pushed. I want to grow, but I also don't want to order 100 of too much. And I've made my mistakes. I've ordered at some point too many of something, and we had to do some crazy promotions to clean them out. But that was part of the learning curve. But I would say the biggest thing was in transition was seeing behind that curtain and being responsible for those numbers completely.
Yeah, that is intense. That's a whole different world. And behind the curtain is a good metaphor for it.
In other companies, it's segregated. So there's probably somebody who manages the purchasing and the ordering of vehicles. There's probably product planning. I have a product planner, but I'm also the one going through line item by line item, looking at the market share, looking at what that specific product is doing and how many we are going to sell, given our promotions and all of these things. So it's a full 360 that you're involved, which is crazy in one side, but also gives me so much experience about this industry that I get to see so many things.
Yeah. On that note, what's the first big decision where you felt the weight of this affects the whole country?
The first one was the very first meeting where he's like, okay, how many of these bikes are you going to sell and how many do we order? And I knew why he was putting the ball in my court, because he was doing exactly that. Okay, I'm going to show you what it really means to be in this role. And we'll either wash you out, manage it, or you'll step up and do it. Of course, at sometimes trying to be the yes man, I would, we're going to do 180 of this. And he said, are you sure? Yes, we're going to do it. And then I'd go out to the guys and we got to do this. And they're like, you're crazy. We're never going to do this. So,
curbing the enthusiasm. Yeah. All right, man. So now as the VP of Sales North America, how many dealerships do you have currently?
Dealerships were probably about 160. Franchises between all of the brands, 360 between Aprilia, Moto Guzzi, and Piaggio. So,
how would you describe your mission in one sentence?
I think our mission in one sentence would be to get dealerships that represent our brand and could deliver a retail experience worthy of the brands that they're carrying.
I know you have said that Piaggio changed everything about how it does business in North America over the last 5 years. What were the biggest changes from your perspective?
The biggest changes I would say would be trying to understand the dealership more, because as an OEM, you think everything. And a lot of companies go and say, no, let's go to town halls and listen to what the dealerships have to say. And we'll make maybe one little change. I was going and visiting dealerships weekly. So I was going in dealerships and getting into the nitty gritty of what's going on. In fact, at one point I kept a small territory just so I could have the connection on that level of what's going on. And I was trying to understand, what are the dealership's biggest struggles? Profitability was always one. Still to this day, the biggest struggle I see is dealership identity and brand, who they are, and trying to understand, how can I help? What tools can we provide? Which is a struggle, I would say, of all the OEMs, but us specifically, we're still struggling to this day about it. But how can we help dealerships grow is one of the bigger things.
Your bike turns heads. Your gear should too. Milwaukee Motorcycle Clothing Company has classic leathers and bold new designs you won't find anywhere else. Shop top brands, plus exclusive MMCC originals. Right now, our listeners get 20% off their entire order with promo code CW20. Visit MilwaukeeMotorcycleClothing.com today.
All right. So what does good OEM support actually look like in the real world? Tools, programs, responsiveness, inventory planning.
In the real world, it would be all of those things.
Yeah. Is any
tools, again, for me, sometimes when you don't have necessarily the same resources, you have to go to, what do I have in my pocket? What tools do I have? And one of the tools that every regional sales manager has, that's the tool that I have, is their relationship with the dealerships. So how can they communicate with the dealerships consistently? Even during COVID, when dealerships were like, wait a minute, like our whole world in the beginning could completely crumble, right? We were like, I said, guys, we need to talk to our dealerships more right now because this is a very worrisome time. This doesn't just mean that everyone gets to sit home and we're not going to do anything. Reach out to your dealerships and talk to them. Ask them what they're doing. How are they going to bring in customers, even though this is a crazy time? Is there processes that they can change at their dealership? And so many dealerships came back to us and said, hey, you guys are communicating with us more than anybody else. Today we try. I get very upset when I see that regional sales managers aren't communicating consistently with their dealerships for whatever reason, because that's the one thing that can overcome a lot of obstacles is communication.
Absolutely.
And once you're going on and what the problems are, the root cause of the problem, you can address it and solve it. And even if you don't have all the fancy tools, you can go and overcome that by saying, okay, I have some tools on my side. Let me look at it. Let me look at your inventory. Let me make a suggested order. And even now we've changed that to where we're looking at it on our side and making a suggested order to the dealership. But in the beginning, I was doing that manually, building my own Excel files, my own Excel tools to overcome the hurdle. Like I said, hurdles get put into your way all the time. Everybody has hurdles. How are you going to overcome that hurdle? And it was the same thing when I got into a motorcycle accident. You're sitting in a hospital bed and you could sit there and feel bad for yourself. Or you could say, okay, let me set some goals so that way I can start overcoming these little obstacles.
That's right.
Next week, I want to be up and walking around. The next week after that, I want to be able to walk by myself. Then I want to be able to take a shower by myself. Right. And even let me go to the bathroom by myself was the very first hurdle. Just because a hurdle's in your way doesn't mean you stop there. You have to go over it. And those are the type of people that I look for. I like to surround myself by people who overcome the obstacles. I feel like at Piaggio, honestly, we have a lot of people that do that. They go above the obstacle. They don't just stop because there's an obstacle in their way.
I want to go back to something you said earlier in this question, and you said the communication part. When you say that, those are the things that kind of get you irritated when the managers below that you oversee don't communicate with the dealerships. Can you give us an example so maybe the audience can understand a little bit better what that communication funnel looks like?
Yeah, a good example would be a dealer that is disconnected, let's call it. Let's call it a D-level dealer that does very small volume with your brands. It's in a corner. And the regional sales manager, he has targets and he has objectives that he has to hit. It's a dealer that's disconnected. And the dealership has said no to suggested orders numerous times, is disconnected. And this is the dealer that I want the most attention to. And it's hard to say, I have all these objectives that I have to do, and this one isn't bringing me the instant result. And as a salesperson, what's the first thing that salespeople go for? The instant result. Let me go to let me go to the fastest thing. Let me sell this person today. I could get these and move on, as opposed to saying, hey, let's work on little things here and grow them from a D to a C to a B. So the thing that we're still currently trying to tackle, because in our network, we need to grow the level of dealerships. And that's a good example of RSM not taking the time to tackle that dealer or leaving that dealership on his own and doing much business with us. I talk to him once a month. That's not enough. There's a reason why he's disconnected. And I understand that's going to take 10 times more energy to that dealership to win him over to sing on our brands than it would the dealership that you have a great relationship that you're talking to every single day. You're involved in his business. You know everything that's going on. That approach needs to be taken to the same dealership. And I understand he probably doesn't want to talk to you every day, but you need the root cause of why he's not talking to you every day, why he's not focusing on your brands, and solve each problem and overcome that obstacle one at a time.
That's such a common shortcoming in most salesmen. So great salesmen understand the importance of cultivating relationships and having a long-term vision rather than just attacking the low-hanging fruit. That's you're not alone in that struggle. That's a guarantee.
Let's call the dealership today and ask him to buy 10 bikes. He's done very little business with us. What type of success do you think you're going to have here?
Exactly. If you lay the groundwork.
If you lay the groundwork and you actually do a proper pre-call and you also plan out how I'm going to approach this problem, you could set little goals. Here's my strategy for that. That's what we're trying to do is, okay, what's the strategy to grow these guys? Let's not go from 0 to hero immediately. Moto Guzzi, we talk about this all the time.
Yeah.
Let's just sell not one Moto Guzzi a month. Let's sell 2. I'm not trying to light the world on fire, but let's go from 1 to 2. And maybe I don't get 2 every single month or 3 every single month, but there'll be a couple months where I get 2 or 3. the program that we worked on and we built helped dealerships become more profitable if they go from 1 to 2, 2 to 3. And that's what I'm focusing on. And maybe you won't do it all the time. I'm not asking you to go crazy, but if you do it in some quarters and you get that extra sales, I'm going to pay you more money. I want you to make more money.
Absolutely. So, and the other side of it is that say that some salesman actually does manage to sell 10 units to that dealership. They convince them however they do it, but then they find out that, man, we really didn't need these 10 bikes. That creates some bitterness. Instead of having that conversation where you're actively listening and thinking, man, 3 bikes would actually make the most sense for this dealer right now. They move those 3 bikes, and now you've earned their trust, and that 3 bikes turns into 10 bikes, turns into 20 bikes.
Right.
It's more of that long-term vision instead of being that dog with a bone pushing something.
Yeah, just don't force feed somebody when they're not hungry, man.
And listen, we're Italian, and our team pushes. And I got to be honest with you, I feel I have the best team in powersports, honestly. The team that I'm surrounded on, they are a mix of people with the different experiences. It's a different feel to the actual team. And those different experiences allow others to share experiences, to share different things. But to your point, going into a dealership and trying to win them over is crucial, honestly, when a lot of our franchises are in multi-line dealerships where every OEM is going in there and fighting for mind share of the dealership, fighting for floor space, fighting for digital space, right? Because now the fight is digitally, right? And I see a lot of OEMs saying, hey, we have to be the first 2 on the banner scroll. And it's tough because sometimes when you look at percentages of business, even though I might sell in a dealership a lot more sport bikes than them, from a percentage wise, you don't make up that much of their dealership volume. So how do you then convince a dealership to say, hey, you need to pay attention to me? That's where the relationship comes into. Yeah. And because you're not going to win that on a metric talk. You're going to win that on a relationship talk.
Yeah, for sure. When you walk into a dealership, what are the first 3 things you notice that helps you understand that they're healthy? Let's do this. Let's do when you walk into your own dealerships, and then when you walk into potential dealerships that you're going to talk to about Piaggio. What are the 3 things that really stand out to you?
When I walk into a Piaggio Group dealership, a franchise dealership, if I know they're a engaged dealership, I see signage, I see some corporate identity, some identity of the brands within the store. I see the bikes presented a certain way. And the biggest thing still, and this goes on both sides, is I get an interaction with someone when I walk through the door. So a big pet peeve of mine is walking into one of our dealerships, and most of the time I won't wear a Piaggio Group anything. I just try to fly under the radar to get that. What's the regular customer's experience when walking into a dealership?
Yeah. Secret shopper.
Yeah. And I really get very annoyed when I walk around and no one talks to me. I find it so rude in a way. It's like
unlike a used car dealership.
Let's not go from exactly 0 to 100 and then I got a bunch of people, what can we sell you today? I was like, whoa,
exactly.
Right. But to walk up to me, say hello, what brings you in here today? Is there anything I can help you with? And then slowly walk off and say, hey, listen, I'm going to be here if you need me. If you have any questions on this specifically, I'll be here. And I'll check on you periodically just to make sure you're finding everything okay.
How often does that happen? Like in your experience, let's say out of 10 dealerships, give me a percentage that happens.
I'd say 60% of the time I see.
Holy, are you serious?
Yeah, because if they have the right setup in their dealership now, I've seen some dealerships where the actual setup is the struggle. They don't have any people. So when I walk through the door, there's a free float area where no one's there. I guess I could give some people or some dealerships a leeway and say, okay, there was no one there, so they can't see me. But that's usually when I take the tour necessarily to see if someone grabs me. And usually I get some sort of, hello, how are you? What brings you in here? Now, there's varying levels of the introduction and that, but at least I get, hey, is there anything I can help you with? And that lets me know that at least the dealership is doing the basic things right. So when I walk into a prospective dealership, I look for a couple different things. The layout of the dealership, the bathrooms are the biggest thing that I look at. I know that sounds silly, but I go usually to the bathroom to see, is there paper towels? Bathroom like a place that I'm afraid to go.
That's a great health check of any business.
I know this is super crazy if they have hot water in their bathroom. So I've been to dealerships that, for whatever reason, they don't have hot water in their dealerships. It's usually, it seems like an obvious red flag. But if you're a dealership and you don't have hot water in your dealership, I would say you should probably, I don't mean to be mean, but hang it up, because you're providing such a terrible customer experience. And then the service area. The service area to me is a thing. And even when I talk to dealerships, how well they are in their service department, how many techs they have, how many lifts they have. That's a big thing that I look for in the dealership, because I know if they're a strong servicing dealership, this is usually healthy regardless of what OEMs they have.
Sure.
What tells you it's a healthy, like when you ask about how many lifts they have, what tells you it's healthy? Do you
Because
have a number
if I go
mind?
into, no, I could start going into what their hours are like per technician. You could start going into the metrics, their average RO, things like that, like even from the auto side that you take into it. But I'm going as basic as to, listen, you sell 10 brands and you have one technician. I'm going to say that you're obviously not focused on it, but even asking a couple questions, hey, your service farm, what are you guys known for? We're known for servicing bikes. I'd like to hear, hey, we have all master technicians for all the brands that we carry. We have some of the best technicians. They'll probably usually call out Rob or John. It's the best technician in the area. And these are things, when I start hearing them, and you got to give the dealership the opportunity to brag, right? Because dealerships want to brag. And if they have some things and some keywords that they're bragging about, usually from just a baseline, I try not to, on a prospect call, to go too far into their business, right? If it's even a cold call, those are the craziest ones. But I just look at it from a general perspective and say, okay, this one's worthy of at least asking or following. And then also I check reviews like crazy of dealerships.
Gotcha.
That's another big one before I even go.
Definitely.
Awesome.
Yeah, because you can tell what their review pipeline looks like if they're asking for reviews, if their number of reviews. That's
if they're commenting on the reviews, that's a big one. If they're commenting on the reviews and actively trying to, if there's issues, because problems are going to come up. And sometimes the OEM is the problem and cause issues for dealerships. But are they commenting on it and saying, hey, let's bring this offline, give me a call, let me address your situation? That's an active dealership.
Definitely.
And most of the reviews are service related.
Yeah, almost always. Yeah.
Almost always.
That's just anecdotally, it's that my background is in culinary in another lifetime years ago. But one of the things that they told us is a good litmus test. If you're traveling and you want to eat somewhere, it's always best to just go to the bathroom and check their bathroom and see the state of their bathroom, because that's going to be a great test on how their kitchen looks. And that translates perfectly into the dealership world.
Kind of wild that we both have the same litmus test at a dealership.
Yeah, man. So at AIM Expo, you talked about breaking expensive bikes down into monthly payments to help consumers see affordability. Do you believe the industry has priced itself out of the entry-level customer, or is it a messaging or financing problem?
It's tough. I think one of the companies that I would say has done it the best has been BMW, truthfully, with their Easy Pay. They're getting customers into very expensive bikes for a lower payment, and it creates this good customer circle. They have some tools that we don't here at Piaggio, but when we look at getting people or giving people the access to really high tier vehicles, the payment is probably the most effective way to do it, especially since I don't want to just get the customer that is the highest end customers, because I want people to aspire to have my products. Even on Vespa, our average customer makes over $100,000. I know it's probably more now. This is going back a few years, but so we average credit score 720 plus. So when you look at our portfolio of customers across our brands, we have a very well qualified customer. And a lot of them can probably just stroke the check if they want to. But now on Aprilia, since we're introducing some lower expensive models and then more entry level, the RS457, the Tuono 457, making sure we have consumer promotions specifically on the financing side is very important to allow that bike to be purchased from a customer at a lower monthly payment. But that's a huge struggle because it's very expensive. And we have great partners that we work with, but it's still expensive to supplement the financing offers. And every OEM is struggling with it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The
100%.
RS457 is like less, isn't it? Under 7,000?
Yeah.
MSRP?
$6,700.
Gotcha. Cool.
It's
But
a great
it's
bike too.
fantastic bike. The Tuono 457 honestly is a fantastic motorcycle as well. So we're hoping that motorcycle, that naked segment, entry level segment, becomes quite popular. And it's a bike that I ride honestly when we go to the track. I'll hop on the Tuono 457 with a quick shifter on it and just go ripping around the track. And
Oh man,
It's just an amazing motorcycle, $6,500, with all
tough
that
to beat.
technology, the chassis on those
Right.
bikes.
To get a new bike like that. Yeah. That's,
And guys,
for
I'm
sure.
not I gotta be honest with you, I'm not a very good track rider. I'm okay. Judging by my street record, I'm probably not a good rider at all. But
Hey, man, that happens, bro.
at
Come
the
on.
same side,
Ride happens. So
yeah,
don't
but
worry.
to get off the track and be able to ride consistently, easily, it's difficult to do on most bikes because the bike is doing things, you're doing things. So that culmination of things creates an experience that you can't get your feedback that you need, where our bike is consistently doing the same thing.
100%.
So really you just have to look at, okay, I'm only doing this. So it's easy to make changes and improve on an Aprilia product than it is our competitors. And I see sometimes our competitors, even with their messaging, will say easier to ride fast on the track. That was all. Our bikes have always been easy to ride fast on the track. So it's not something that just something that
what
we
are
did.
you seeing? What are you seeing in consumer behavior? I understand that you have dealerships that are in winter time frame now, and then you have dealerships that are obviously like us in Florida, California, and areas where it's all season. But what are you seeing as far as most predictions have had 2026 as a flatline year, right? That's what most experts are talking about that study the power sports industry. What are you seeing on your level, and how are people shopping now compared to, let's say, 5 years ago?
I would say the consumer now, if it's a newer product and has a value proposition, you see the consumer pulling the trigger. And there'll be a wait list and people will buy that bike because it's a have to have. It just came out. It's new. It's fresh. And we have those consumers that go and do that. But we also are seeing consumers that aren't upgrading their machine on the same product cycle that they were before. So I would say that's the one behavior where they're keeping their bike for longer. We're seeing on the service side more service, but on the new bike cycle, people upgrading their bikes every 2 years. I want to say that's probably backed off to 3.5, which is a lot longer from a product cycle. So us specifically, we're starting to try from our marketing perspective, start reaching out to those consumers and try and have a more organic approach to introduce, hey, there's been some changes to our product. Because let's be honest, COVID, we all took for granted our customers. So we sold them a bunch of product, absolutely, and they were excited to get into a community. And probably all of us didn't do a very good job of culturing that community. On Vespa, I could say that's where we failed the most because we had such a huge growth on scooters. And we did a very poor job of building a community around those scooters, giving them a community to go to at their local dealership, making them feel comfortable on their scooter. So it wasn't just a product, immersing them in the lifestyle of Vespa. And you see that now with Vespa from the marketing point of view, that it's more of immersing you into the brand versus the product itself. And I think that's where we failed, selling all of these people these scooters. And they're like, wait a minute, I always dreamed of having a Vespa, the Italian Vespa. It's fantastic. You get it. And you're like, okay, now what do I do with this? I could ride from here to the supermarket, but like at some point I'm a little bit bored with this thing. So
you know what I noticed, Mike? Sorry to cut you off, man. You know what I noticed is we talked to a lot of dealers, and you're talking about the good ones from the bad ones. Obviously now, like you said, more and more people are holding on to their bikes longer, right? So the service department obviously becomes the focal point, the money making while this transition is going on. But one of the things that a lot of dealers are doing is they're talking about, hey, come bring your bike in for a trade. We got the special going on, the next level up, so on and so on. But the problem that I've seen, and I've talked to a lot of consumers that get those emails and get those text messages and get those phone calls, is a lot of dealers are still pulling the same. And what they're doing is they're getting them in the door with the bike. They're saying, hey, bring the bike. Let us take a look at it. This is the next model. And then they're still lowballing them with a trade-in offer. So now this guy is excited, or this guy or gal is a little bit frustrated because he or she were interested in moving up to the newer model, but then they got slapped in the face. They got basically, come little boy, we got candy for you. And then they come for the candy, man. And then it's somebody put a
black licorice.
So is that something that you guys are trying to work hard on, as far as if you're going to bring these people in for a trade-in, to try to at least be very competitive for a solid would they go, hey, you know what? That's fair. I can move into that new bike now.
You have to take, we talked about a roadmap, right? So if you take a few steps back, and it's tough to look at each dealership's economic situation because there's so many variables that go into it. And some dealerships are really good at their used bike selling, and it's a profit center for them, which every dealership should have this. This is probably some of the experience you're talking about. They just take the bike and wholesale it out, which you're going to get the lowest dollar quote back. And that's just what they're giving. Hey, I'm just giving you what the price I'm getting, not saying, okay, what's the retail opportunity I have with this used bike? Okay, my wholesale value is $5,000. I could retail this bike for $7,500 and make $2,000. Don't you think that's a better strategy? So now you have a piece of inventory that you're able to buy.
Right.
Let's buy it now for $65 and make $1,000. The customer's happy, make a deal. Those are the good dealers that are able to do that and bridge that gap. But it also starts on the OEM side about making sure the channel is healthy and making sure that your dealerships are selling bikes so the residual value is good when the customer brings that bike in. And that's a very difficult struggle, especially given the times, because if your sales are dropping or in a specific model, that's when sometimes you might have to do a trade-in support, trade-in credit. And we've had some success with that to help bridge that gap, especially when customers were coming back and returning their bikes and getting out of the industry. Or so we'd say, hey, listen, we have a trade-in. Maybe you just trade it in for something different. And we have a great family of brands where we were allowing kind of the trade-in credit to go through a couple different brands. Maybe you want to trade in the scooter and get a motorcycle, or maybe you want to trade in the motorcycle and use the trade-in credit for a scooter. We were trying to keep them within the family of brands because I would say we have the most complete family of brands in terms of two-wheel or three of any OEM in the United States, in my opinion.
Man, cool. So what do you see most dealers spending marketing dollars on right now? Google, Meta, Co-op, where are they putting their marketing budget?
It depends. Bad dealers, I see them just posting with no clear strategy of how they want to go there. The good dealers are working with a specific agency to drive Google. I think is still a pretty good strategy because you could really drill down and find that specific customer and interact with him in a way. But on the Google side, if you're not dialed in with what you're advertising and your keywords that you're keying off of, you just shotgun approach. And it's something that, in my opinion, you have to work constantly at really narrowing in and being specific on what you're trying to do. And I think everyone tries to take a shotgun approach to sales, where if you focus your ads specifically on something, you'll have a greater success. Hey, I have 4 of these models. Let's try and sell one. Let's do an ad specific to that model. That's where the best comes from, as opposed to spring cleaning.
Clearance sale.
You're diminishing your value at the dealership in a way. You're just going to say, let's get as many leads as we can and try and sell as much stuff as we can, versus let me try and find the customer that's going to see value in this product. Let me go out and try and get him. If you did that the entire time, and I get it, that takes a lot of work, a lot of strategy, probably a little bit more marketing dollars, but value that you're getting from that customer coming in, and your average sales price and your average margin is going to increase. So
yeah, it makes sense. It's a more qualified lead. And a lot of times 100%. the cost of running that ad is usually going to be cheaper than the spring cleaning sales event sort of thing.
But if you try and do it in 2 months and say, I'm going to have great results in 2 months. This is something that you have to be dedicated to. You have to take time and learn your customer. Good dealerships have somebody that's actually doing this, and they understand the customer. They understand who they're marketing to. And some of them, it'll be shocking when you're in one of those dealerships, their marketing person will send us an email and say, hey, who should we be targeting? Who is the target customer? What are some keywords? And we have a whole bunch of keywords that we send to dealerships. Here's what you should be targeting and looking after. And we're constantly changing that profile because that customer is changing sometimes too. And the more you can get, the more dealerships can get specific, the better results they will have.
Right. And so many marketing agencies, as well as businesses, if they do it in-house, they don't set up proper tracking either. They're just kind of crossing their fingers and hoping that first contact asks them, so how'd you hear about us? And I found you on Google. Well, actually, I saw the ad on Google. So they don't know where their dollars are actually going. So Mike, part of why we're building Cycles Worldwide is to reduce the pay to play pressure so dealers can reinvest in what's important: staff, training, inventory, that kind of stuff. If dealers had, let's say, when our idea comes to fruition, if dealers had that free or low cost targeted channel that actually works, where do you think they would feel the relief first in their business.
What do you mean specifically?
So if they're not forking over a boatload of money to cycles or to Cycle Trader,
advertising money.
advertising
If they were to put their advertising money into something else while they have a targeted platform to list all their inventories on, where do you think Ben is basically saying? Where do you think that money is going to go? Is there like employee retention, more units, things like that?
I think if you're going to invest your money and not do it on an inventory channel, I would do exactly what you're saying. How do you improve the experience at your dealership and build your brand at your dealership? And I think we talked about this in the intro call, essentially, is it's a question I asked dealership, what is your dealership known for? And dealerships give all generic answers. But if you don't have something, you need in making or figuring out what it is that you guys are good at and what you're known for in your area. And on the other side, if you're known for something, leaning into that and investing in that, because that's what's keeping your customers coming back. Your employees want to be at a place that has a clear identity. I want to work for that company. Those are the dealerships with the very clear identity are the ones that are having the most success. If I had to invest money, if I was a dealership, I would invest in my brand as a whole and try and build that brand, build value in my dealership. So that way I'm not struggling to compete against 3 other dealerships that all sell the same stuff, because that battlefield is not the battlefield you want to be on. I don't want to be on the Cycle Trader battlefield where I have the same Honda as 3 other dealerships within 20 miles. And it's one of the benefits to having a Piaggio dealer, because the network isn't as big. So you're not competing as much, but you are competing in a way. And if you're going onto the battlefield of price, you've obviously lost your battle immediately. And the smaller dealer that isn't the 2,500, 3,000 overall units sold in a year, you have to build value somewhere else, and not going into the battlefield on price and going into the customer experience, the service experience, even again, how your dealership looks, our employees. Are we a marketing dealership where we do events all the time? We have customers coming in and we make it we break down those barriers to entry immediately because you understand us. That's where I would spend all of my money, is there. You have to have your digital presence and you have to have that, but what is your brand and how are you going to build that brand, and set a strategy and be consistent about it, and don't stop at that first hurdle, because your first party isn't going to be successful. We've all had where we invited people and not all the people showed up and you're like, this sucks, I'm not throwing another party. That was your first party. Maybe they were thinking your party wasn't going to be good. Then other people told them, hey, the party was pretty good. Then you have your next event and more people show up and, oh, wow, this is consistent. This dealership seems cool. The people are good. These are regular people like me. I want to buy from someone like that. Then the conversation isn't, let me go search for the best priced vehicle. It's, oh, I have to call Tom at X dealership because he's going to help me out. And what did we just switch the whole thing to? A helping situation, which is what the best type of sales situation you want to be in. Not what's the best price out the door. And you're going to have those customers, don't get me wrong. But
exactly.
I can argue that's not what you want.
It's emphasizing the importance of repeat customers also, because if you focus on what sets yourself apart, somebody who's coming in just because you do have a good price on something, they're going to remember that customer experience and be more likely to be a repeat customer.
Yeah, because we don't remember the best price I got at a dealership. Of all my dealership experience, and I've had a ton of dealership experience, I've wasted and blown a lot of money buying stuff.
You remember Sam from
I remember the experience that I had at the dealership, that I was like, even recently I bought a car and I said to the guy, he handled everything. It was a Land Rover dealership. This sales guy handled everything from A to Z. It was like
concierge.
The most premium, but it wasn't even premium. It was just what he does. Then he took my phone. He said, can you unlock your phone real quick? He took my phone. I unlocked it. I said, here you go. He left, went out to the car, hooked everything up completely.
Killer.
I didn't even have to do it.
Man. That's crazy.
And he came back and he said, listen, everything's all set up. I have everything set up. I set the first button on your thing all the way back. So when you come in, just set your car and then hit number 1. He called me the next day and was like, okay, how was everything on the drive home? What was happening? Tell me, were there any questions? It was just, and it's just something that this guy did. It was what he did. So Land Rover Fairfield, they had fantastic, unbelievable. I want to shout because it was honestly, it was one of the best car buying experiences I had. And it wasn't about the price. Honestly, it was more about the experience. They made it super simple and easy for me to buy a car. I showed up, the car was ready completely. It was, here you go, sign the stuff. they presented me with F&I stuff. Say, hey, is this something that you're interested in? Here's the value and why you might want to consider these things. It wasn't necessarily like the hardest F&I, because I've been in some of those where I can appreciate, honestly, someone going that hard, but it was a different experience where I actually questioned a few times, should I buy this or should I not? Which is what you want to do in that situation. Did I see value in what they were presenting? If I could replicate that into a power sports dealership, that would be a great experience, honestly.
Yeah. And where are you going to go when you got to buy another Range Rover, Land Rover, whatever? You're going to go online and look at prices? No, you're going to remember who you talked to in the experience.
In my opinion, I would only go to one place. There's not even a decision. So, and then Land Rover, this is something that I had to save up for, and I had to put myself in a position to go and buy it. So it was I'm sure that's what they understood. Hey, it's not something that you go and buy every day. There's only
a win.
So there was a lot of my hard-earned money going towards a car. So I doubt that's how they thought about it. They just thought about it. We want to make sure he has a great experience. To the key presentation. I know that sounds stupid, but
it doesn't. It doesn't. It really doesn't.
I don't care if it's a Honda 110.
We live in a world with most people expect a terrible customer service experience. Let's face it. When you make a phone call and a customer service rep comes on, and you're like, you can already tell by the voice, you're like, oh boy, this is going to be a tough one.
We talked about it before. Someone could go to a million other places and they decided to walk into your dealership. They decided to purchase a vehicle from you. How did you make that experience special for that person, in my opinion? Because I think that's something that you should do. And I get it. People already are in this defensive posture because of experience that they've had in the past.
Absolutely.
Of course.
So that's already something that you have to disarm immediately. But also, once you did do this sale, and I get there's lots of things that happen between the first contact and, okay, I'm signing the paperwork. But once they sign the paperwork, is it, see you later, bye, here's the bike? Or are you saying, let me try and add value to this customer here too. Let me keys to him. Let me show, hey, here's the Honda t-shirt, or here's this. Just a little something special for you. And thank you for your business. And then asking, we talked about, you said referrals, asking for referrals. Basic, but hey, did I do a good job,
Huge.
Mr. Customer?
Yeah.
Yes, you did a good job. Was everything up to your liking? Did you have a great experience at our dealership? Yes. Hey, number one, can you leave us I'm going to send you a link. Can you leave us a review about your experience here? And then is it possible that either you have a few friends that are looking for, or the next time you're bike meet, can you mention my name? I'm going to give you a couple cards. Take this to the next level and have a little code on the back or something like this for the customer. And that's taking it to the next level. But even if you just look at driving and behavior, start from the basics and ask. If I'm a salesperson at a dealership, that's what I want to do.
100%.
I want someone to say, I've had a great time. He'll take care of you. Mike will take care of you. Go talk to Mike. He's got you. Don't worry about it. It might not be the cheapest price, but it's going to be experience. People remember the experience or the price. They always remember the experience. They never remember. How much you get that? You give me a good deal. You give me a good deal, I think. No, you had a great experience. That was awesome there. And the first problem that happens, who do they call? They never call the service department.
They call
the sales guy. Mike, there's a check engine light on my bike. Yeah, don't worry about that. Comes on as soon as you start the bike up. And as soon as you go 10 seconds on the bike, it's going to go away. No problem. Don't worry about it. Okay, perfect. Hey, there's a subscription on here. What do I have to do? I have to do anything like this? A to Z, if I was a salesperson, I wouldn't just stop.
A to Z.
You have to take it to overcome all the obstacles, all the hurdles, and make sure that experience of that customer is fantastic. And I think if you do that, and if that's your ethos at your dealership, and you approach customers as people, I think you're going to be successful. I don't know how you couldn't be. Because even as I'm talking about it, I want to go work at those dealerships because it sounds like a great place to be.
It's a good thing you're not enthusiastic, man.
I love motorcycles. I love off-road. I love power sports in general. And I think it's something from a brick and mortar place we have to be careful and support, because a lot of these dealerships I've seen families that own them, and I don't want to see families get hurt or go out of business. I want to see them be successful. I want to see them be able to take care of their kids and pass it down from generation to generation. And we as OEMs, I get it. Everyone probably wants to say, at one point we were thinking, hey, how do we sell more vehicles online? And what we said was, why don't we just make a portal where customers can order their bike online, and we'll do it more like a concierge where we'll coordinate between the customer and the dealership and try and just get those two together to make it more seamless. So we'll have a digital space, but let's not take the sale or try to compete for that sale against the dealership. Let's try and drive that customer to the dealership, because I still want to, maybe it's the wrong strategy, I don't know, but I still want to support the dealerships, support the mom and pops dealerships. And I understand 100%. That investing in a franchise is not just on the parts, the tools, and the corporate identity and the signage that you have to buy. It's also investing in your staff, investing in your service, because you're bringing on a new brand. So there's a lot more of a commitment that you're starting to see. So I understand that commitment. I have a passion for the dealerships. I want to see them successful. I think we all in this industry owe a great deal of gratitude to the dealerships and see how we can support them, make them more profitable. Every time I've ever seen dealerships make money, they've always invested back into their dealership. Now, we have those one or two examples where they just take everything, but I've always seen them improve their corporate identity. Hey, can we get new signages? Can we get a display for here? They're not afraid to spend. They just want to see the investment from both sides.
Gotcha.
That makes sense.
Okay. Yep. Let me ask you a question. If a young listener, young dealer, future dealer is listening and wants a long career in the power sports industry, you went from outside the industry, you wanted to get into the industry, and you took the steps, you were aggressive in making sure that you followed this path that you created for yourself. What type of advice would you give somebody listening that maybe, it doesn't even necessarily have to be power sports? I mean, mainly everybody who listens to our show loves power sport, but let's just say, what would you say to somebody listening to chase their dreams and how to get into this, maybe when they don't have somebody who gives them that little nudge?
For me, it's always been about, if I wanted something, I'm going to go and get it. And you could ask my family, they said the same thing. If you wanted something, I would make a plan to go and get it, whether it be a crazy car. I'd say, okay, on paper, I can't really afford this car, but maybe if I buy this car and then I buy this car and then I get this car and I get this car, then I could one day have that car. And maybe that's 5 years from now. But truthfully, I set a path 5 years before I went and got the car that I wanted to get there. So it's the same thing in life, I would say. Advice that I could give to anybody is not just, again, we talk about the hurdles, right? If you want something, okay, you want to go get there. Don't just stop at the first hurdle. Don't just say, okay, I'm going to submit an application and hope back, where maybe you need to get more involved, reach out to some people and really commit to what you want to do. And it was the same thing with, I could go back to that example. They turned me down twice. So why did I accept the third one and get the interview on the third time? Okay, now granted, but I made a commitment that I wanted to go to an OEM and I wasn't going to stop until I got in there. And I wanted to have that experience. Sometimes you see the vision and you go for it. And usually see that a lot in racers. They see themselves at the finish line and they envision themselves winning the thing. I like to take that same thing. If there's something that you're passionate about and you want to do it, don't stop at the first hurdle, because you're going to get a hurdle. Inevitably, you will get a hurdle. But if you sit there and say, okay, I want to get here, here's the pathway that I want to do. And sometimes you have to just sit down and write it down and say, hey, I'm going to apply, but I got to come to the understanding I'm probably not going to get there. But maybe I need to go to the next event that they're having, see if I can interact with their corporate
management team or something. Yep.
Let me LinkedIn message them. Let me explain to them my passion. I'm a little bit different in the sense that I've looked for people with all different experience. We've hired influencer style people. We've hired people more from an insurance side, people from the dealership side. So I've given a lot of people the opportunity to come from the dealership into the OEM. And that's a tricky situation. I never want to take anyone from a dealership. I don't try to it. If they apply, we usually ask the dealership, hey, someone from your dealership has applied. I'm not going to say, who is it? Okay. Because that's not what we're trying to do. But also I want to give someone who's working in the dealership the opportunity. If they want to come work for an OEM, maybe they don't have a college degree. College degree isn't necessarily the most important thing to me.
That's right.
It's work ethic. It's drive. Are they going to stop at that first hurdle? You can see it in their eyes that they want this, and their effort will show you that they want this. And that's the biggest thing. Don't quit at the first stop, because you're going to get stopped. How do you push through that first boundary and say, okay, here, let me keep trying to go ahead. Let me keep pushing, because if I stopped it every time someone told me no, I wouldn't have anything. And I could tell you experience after experience. The first time I went to buy a very expensive car, they were like, hey, he looked me in the eyes and said, you'll never get this car. It's not going to happen. That sales guy said, unless you make double the amount of money, there's no way you're going to make this car. Unless you change multiple things, it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
And I walked out of that. I never felt worse about myself in my life, honestly. I was like, sad. But that was that. That was that
from him.
I know.
When
that
I
was
got
that
it, I
world.
would drive by and wave at him.
Fast forward to 8 years later, I have a core that I was looking at from that one. But the point is, I said, okay, let me take some advice that he said and make a strategy to get that car. I almost was like you just said, let me show him that I'm going to do it. And it created a little fire in me. So I bought a car. I sold that, but I bought this one. I made some money on this one. I kept just flipping cars to get to this car. Then one day I got it. He's probably right. Man. I don't make enough money to have the car.
I'll get there. I'll get there with hustle.
I got the experience and the hustle to get there. And I got it. But that was a personal thing to me. But you could apply that same logic to anything in life.
Absolutely.
And just because someone tells you no doesn't mean it's a no. It just means, how are you going to get there?
That's right.
This person told me no. This job told me no at one point. But now I'm in a position where, okay, what is it that you want to do next in your career? And
you turned all the no's to yeses.
So people want to get into this industry or take any job, in my opinion. Don't just take a job for a job. Take something that you're passionate about. So when the person that's talking to you can see that passion and that drive of what you're trying to do, you'll have much more success filling that role or getting that role if the person who's interviewing you can see that passion that you have behind it. Now let's not go crazy with it. You understand the point, but
really, it's realistic goals for sure.
Yes.
That's where you're heading with this thing. Hey, listen, Mike, let me ask you a question. We can have you on for the next 6 hours, but I wanted to ask you, for dealers listening, maybe dealers who have thought about talking or bringing the Piaggio Group into their dealership, or like, how can people get a hold of you? Where are you most active? Social media? We're going to link everything to the show notes. And in addition to, if there's anything new that maybe we didn't cover that you guys got going on, you got the floor, brother.
Yeah, for me, if someone's interested in becoming a dealership, and not to step on it, but in my opinion right now, if you were to bring on an OEM company, one of the biggest opportunities you have in terms of volume is a Piaggio Group dealership, because we have a consistent family of brands that spans a lot of different models. And from a overall volume perspective, it'd be tough right now for you to go and get another OEM that matches the volume that you can do with our company. If you're a dealership sitting there thinking, how can I expand my portfolio? How can I diversify my portfolio? And you're thinking about it and you're in an open area, and we have some of those out there, and you're passionate maybe about bringing on a premium brand, one, you could submit an application, which is just essentially a call with Kevin Johnson, our dealer development director, through any of our websites, become a dealer. That would be the quickest, easiest way, because it comes directly to all of us. And me directly, you could reach me via my email, and we can link it in there. I'll say michael.angeli@us.piaggio.com. It's a crazy long email, but
all right.
If you want to reach me directly. And then also, if any dealerships have any questions or just want to talk, I'm more than open to have those conversations or help. Piaggio dealer or non-Piaggio dealer, honestly. A lot of
where
things,
are you most active on?
Me personally?
Yes.
LinkedIn, I would say.
Yeah.
So I think that's the easiest way to interact with me, but I would just give my cell phone number, not out to everyone, because sometimes I get some calls from people, but I absolutely will have any conversation.
Okay. Sounds good. Mike, thanks, brother. Thanks for coming on the show, man. It's been awesome to get to know you.
I appreciate it.
Love the enthusiasm and the passion. I don't know. You make people around you feel good, man. That's why I think you've climbed that ladder, because you lift people up, and in your work ethic, your humble upbringing, everything that you've done, just, man, you can just see how much you love this. Continued success. Great to call you a brother now. Super excited. And hopefully I'll see you either at the next AIM Expo. Do you go to the NPDA stuff?
It depends on schedule, but typically not. And then honestly, not to plug, but if you're available, we'd love to have you guys out to MotoGP. If you guys can get out there, I could arrange it to give you guys a little bit of a different experience, to show you who we are as a company. And then any other dealer also that's going to be in Austin for MotoGP, to please reach out to me ahead of time. We'd be happy to sit down, have some conversation, show you who we are as a company. All of our management's going to be there. We're very hands-on, available management team, and we'd love the opportunity. So if you're available and you can find a way to get out there, just connect with me.
What are the dates? Do you know what the dates are?
It's in 2 weeks, I believe, the weekend of the 27th.
Cool, man.
But we could talk after and see if it's up.
All right. Yeah, for sure.
Sweet. Mike,
thanks, brother.
So much. This was awesome. Appreciate you.